Writing scripts for other people, creating a graphical user interface, starting with the graphical user interface. Now this nugget is one of a small series of 4 that's going to build on top of each other. So this is the first one where we're going to create a graphical user interface using Windows PowerShell. This is a great way to present a tool to technicians or even end users, leveraging the capabilities of PowerShell to make the tool do stuff while still presenting people with a nice, familiar graphical user interface. So we're starting with part 1 here, creating the graphical user interface. And the next nugget will be adding code. So as we create the graphical user interface, I want to make sure that I'm showing you a variety of stuff. So the tool we're going to write here is maybe not the most realistic production tool, but it's going to allow me to show you a large number of graphical user interface elements all in one nice example. Now, first things first, I want to emphasize that you do not need to buy any commercial tools in order to create a graphical user interface in Windows PowerShell, but the right tool can save a ton of time. When I'm building these GUI tools, I like to use a product called PowerShell Studio from Sapient Technologies. I'll be using the trial version of it through this little series of nuggets. Now, what I'm going to do is use the tool, which is mainly there to help me draw the GUI and then produce the PowerShell code that will actually create the GUI at runtime when a user runs the tool. So I'm going to use the tool that way, and I'm going to show you what it produces. You can then decide if you would rather have the tool or if you're comfortable producing that code manually on your own, handwriting it, and you don't need the tool. That way you can decide either way. I do this enough that the tool has become worth it to me. So let's get into the start menu here and see if I can find it. PowerShell Studio. There we go. Excellent. Continue the trial. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is create a new project, and that'll be up on the File tab. And you've got a couple of different types of projects you can create, but I'm going to create a new form project. So we just need to give this a name, my tool, and we'll have that, put it in a folder right there so it's all nice and contained. And then we sort of start off in this drawing environment. We've got this main form here, and this is where we're going to build our graphical user interface. I'm going to make it nice and big to start with. Now, as you click on things in here, you'll notice that you've got this little properties list off to the right-hand side, and this is going to let me customize the look. Now, I'm going to go after something that looks like a dialog box. So the first thing I need to do is give this something better, my tool. You can name that whatever you want, but you can see that text actually is going to appear on the window title bar. Oops, go away. And now let's do the form border style. I'm going to change this to a fixed dialog box, so it's not resizable. You'll notice the control box goes away from the upper corner when you do that. And I'm also going to get rid of the maximize button. You know, I'm going to change this property list to alphabetical. I think it's a little easier to find stuff. Yeah, maximize box, false. And that just grayed out. I don't know if you can really tell it, but you won't be able to click that. So you'll be able to minimize my tool to the taskbar, click it on the taskbar to resize it, but you won't be able to resize it yourself, and you'll be able to click the X to close it. So let's do this. Let's start with a little description. So I'm going to go find a label control. Here we go. I'll put this over here. And then in the text for that, this will query events from a computer. Start by entering the computer name. Then click, did I get a comma there or a period? Comma. Okay, so I'm going to jam this in the upper corner here and kind of resize it until you can see the whole thing. And then we'll stick in a text box where someone can enter a computer name. Text box. These things tend to size themselves pretty decently. You can just kind of position it until you're happy with it. We'll make it about that long, and then I need a button over here. And now we're going to interact with this text box. In other words, whatever the user types in here, we're going to need to get to. So any control that you put on here that you're going to want to get to, that you're going to need to interact with, you need to give it a meaningful name. And I'm going to call this text box computer name. This button is something that users are going to click, and I want to have something other than just the word button 1 on there. Now in my instructions I kind of implied that this was going to say get logs, so I'll type get logs for its text. And they're going to interact with that. Oh, look what it did. See, if you name it, you put that text on there, it automatically has called it button get logs. So in my code, that's going to make it real easy for me to remember what that is, because it's going to say button get logs. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I want it to kind of, my dialog box to start off just like this. And then I want, after they get the logs, I want to show a new portion of it. And one way to do that is to grab in a group box. And you'll see why. So let's size that out so it's kind of the same size as everything else. And at this point, I'm thinking this is as big as this is going to be, so I'll cram that over. Now, you know what? That's got way more on the left-hand side than the right-hand side. Yeah, if you're going to do this, focus on pretty. Make it pretty. So the group box, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to put a drop-down box. So this is actually called a combo box. Now it's important, I want this to be in the group box. So I need to take my pointer and I need to make sure that the group box is selected and then double click. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Delete, delete, selected, I want combo box. There we go. And I'm going to stretch that over to about this big. I'm going to select this again and then add a button. And it looks like I'm going to need to make that a little smaller. And we'll call that OK. That should change the name to button OK. Cool. And then this list, the name of that is going to be list log names. Now, there's several different types of drop-down list in the Windows world, and I can decide what type this is by selecting the drop-down style. Now, a regular drop-down still lets you pick your own, type your own thing, and a combo box lets you do that too. I'm going to pick drop-down list. That means they're only going to be able to pick values from here. They're not going to... Oh, did I hit run? I hope it didn't hit run. Yeah, go away. Let's hide that. And get all this other stuff out of the way. Okay. So this is only going to allow them to pick values that I have specifically put in there, which I'll do. So let's make this a little small. Oh, you know what? I should show you how to use a checkbox too. Let's add a checkbox to that. And now this is going to be kind of silly, a little arbitrary. Let's call it only get newest 50 entries. And we'll size it so you can actually read the whole thing. You want to be a little careful about making it too big because people will be able to click anywhere in this box to select or unselect the checkbox. So you kind of want to make this the same size as the text. And I'll jam that up there, and then we need to give it a name because they're going to interact with it. And you see it's filled in checkbox only get newest, that's too much. Let's call it checkbox. Oops, I'm not typing. Let's call it newest 50. Just so the name's a little shorter. I don't need to get carried away. All right, now that I've got all that, let's ratchet that up so we don't have a bunch of empty space. We'll bring this up so we don't have a ton of empty space. And then I'm going to save my project. And believe it or not, that's all we have to do. We just created a graphical user interface. And we haven't put code behind it yet, but we've drawn the GUI. We've thought about all the things we need the user to do. We've made sure that the bits they have to interact with are named. And the one thing I have left to do, I don't want this displayed by default. I'm going to go find its visible property, set it to false. And when we start adding code to this, you'll see what that does. So that's the graphical user interface out of the way. Now, I got to show you a bunch of stuff, text boxes and checkboxes and lists and all that stuff. Well, now it's time to actually make those do something. So in the next nugget, we're going to look at adding the code to make that GUI come to life. So although we've only done the first step, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.